Good morning and happy Thursday. Welcome to Market of the Moment, the last Market of the Moment of August, which is unbelievable that we're wrapping up August already, and the last in our series on coaching this month. So we are really excited to be joined this morning by Miss Kristi Jencks, and we will be introducing her shortly. But Kristi is made the time to be with us, and it's exciting. She's a Tom Ferry coach, and I'm already getting to the introduction when it's not time for the introduction yet. But so look at Mindy laughing at me already. So, but thank you for joining us this morning, Kristi. Also would like to introduce, I know Bernie's been on with us once before, Bernie Chavira. Am I doing better, Bernie? All right, I'll get it eventually, someday. So Bernie with Define Mortgage, and Bernie will be bringing us our mortgage update today. Bernie has been a great partner with Fidelity, and for those of you guys who aren't familiar with Define Mortgage, they are the lending arm, the mortgage lending arm for Desert Financial, formerly Desert Schools Credit Union. So Bernie, thank you so much for being on with us this morning.
Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely, and I'll see if I can not butcher this name. Market Master Mindy Jones. Good morning, Mindy. Thank you for being on with us. We appreciate your time.
Good thing I'm known for giving those that I love a hard time, and I really could not love today's panel more. I am so psyched that Kristi is on. Bernie, it's been so great getting to know you over the last couple of months. Fidelity, you're always amazing. Today's going to be super fun. I'm just trying to hedge my bets here up front because I don't have more inventory to give you, and I know that I always get in trouble on the weeks that happens. So I'm just trying to get you guys to like me up front, and then I'll talk you through the rest later.
This is a good strategy, Mindy. I feel like the fires are getting warmer out there right now, and we're excited for your market update because it seems like we might be swinging back in the other direction a little bit. So looking forward to hearing what you've got going on. So and then my co-host, Ms. Sharon Terhune, the Vice President of Sales for Fidelity National Title. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And oh my gosh. Okay, Bernie, Chavira. Close? All right. I got nothing.
Bernie's so gracious. He's so gracious. He's like, I got to put up with this all morning.
Day on the call, so that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. Bernie, for joining us today. And gosh, Kristi, great to see you. I'm very excited to hear about what's going on in your world. And Mindy, even though you have no inventory, I'm sure you're going to add all the value you always do to this call. So it's all good. We'll forgive you.
Yeah. So, well, thank you all for being on. Thank you all for making time. Thank you for those of you guys who are watching, whether you're watching live or the recorded version or the Market of the Moment Express version, which will be out at the beginning of next week. So, and a little shout out to our friend over at Be Real Productions, Brandon Morgan, for making those videos each week, because not everybody's got the time to sit through an hour of us chatting and going through things. So that is our highlight reel, and we put that out every Monday. So thank you. Okay, so now for the real introduction for Miss Kristi Jencks, the superstar that she is. So Kristi and I have known each other from very, very early with my beginnings on with Fidelity National Title. Her and her husband own the Big Helper real estate team with EXP, and we got to know each other, like I said, very early in my career. And my very first meeting with them, they were in the process of finalizing the adoption of some of their children. And so Kristi, we are at 7 children, I believe, and not we personally, but
and
you
holding.
yeah, and holding. So, which is an amazing feat all in itself. And I've had opportunities to be with you and your family and watch the interactions, and it is just amazing. And what a great family you have. So just amazing on that. Beyond that, Kristi does a little bit in the real estate world as well. So the Big Helper team, you guys, how many people do you have on the team now, Kristi?
Oh, we're growing. I think we have 8 sales agents now, and I think 5 admin. So it's fun, right? We're kind of in that transition of a small team We've been small and mid-sized for a while, and we just made the decision in Q3, the beginning of Q3, like, let's just go for it. We're going to go big team. So, try to keep the small team feel by having the right partners in place. But we've just got so much to offer that I don't want to be restricted by a number now and just say, hey, if you're the right fit, I'm looking for you to partner with me. So we're kind of on the move, and it's fun to have a different vision of the team, because we've always been this small kind of Navy SEAL team. Mindy knows this, right? Like, she runs an incredible team. I love the women on her team. Whenever we can do a cross sell with that team, I'm always excited. So so our team's changing, but it's fun. So currently 8, and we'll see where we go.
Yeah, well, and there's been different changes in the team, because there was a point in time where you guys, like, when we first met, that you guys didn't have the intensity with your team. Like, it was more of like you guys were just kind of guides and leaders.
We had a mentorship, yeah.
Yeah, and so what you guys have done has been amazing, and congratulations on that. And so running an amazing real estate team and being the mother of 7 apparently wasn't keeping you busy enough. And so you decided that becoming a coach in the Tom Ferry organization would make sense as well. And
yeah.
So
I joke and say that I coach for Tom for fun. Yeah, it's kind of my joke, because, to get into my schedule, I kind of, I have the same amount of time as everybody else does, right? And that's probably one of the biggest questions that I get is like, how do you do so much? I'm like, I make choices every single day. So when I first am interviewing someone to get into my schedule, I will literally tell them, like, I have 7 kids. I have 9 kids that live at my house that, that are part of my world. I have my team. We sell consistently over 130 units every year, and we're growing. And I coach for Tom Ferry, and that's just for fun. So don't be late. Be prepared, right? Like, I give them kind of the riot act, because it's, it's important. But I do it for fun. And it actually came to be because when I came into real estate with Merrill, and I knew we were going to talk a little bit about kind of that transition for me.
Yeah.
Coming into real estate, when I came into real estate with Merrill, I came from an industry of education. So I sold textbooks for publishers like Harcourt and Houghton Mifflin to elementary schools and high schools, and kind of that whole thing. And that industry is all about training. I'm sure you guys at Fidelity go through training, right? And it's important that you have that training in place, not just how to talk to people, but how to use the systems and the software and the tools. It's kind of that all-encompassing training. So I get into real estate, we go through real estate school, and we landed at a fantastic brokerage, right? West USA, Revelation at the time, and with incredible mentors in Chuck and Angela. But I'm like, nobody is talking about, like, what's really going on. What Mindy's going to discuss, for instance, is one of the crucial skills most agents lack, is how to talk about the market and how to understand the market intelligence of what is the market and what's important and what does it mean to me as a buyer and what does it mean to me as a seller. And so I kind of started, luckily I had Merrill, so we started just doing our own training, and all of a sudden agents were flocking to us. They didn't have, right? And we were at an incredible brokerage, and Keller Williams is an incredible brokerage, has amazing training, but there was just this disconnect between how to actually sell real estate and, what does this look like in a day-to-day? So we started a mentorship because we were fielding a lot of questions. And so anybody could come to our mentorship, and then that transitioned into a team. And then I was like, well, I just teach classes. That was kind of a selfish thing, because it was like, I'm answering so many questions all the time that maybe I should just start holding some classes to try to, like, field people in. And then I just got this idea one day in my head, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun to, like, coach for, like, one of these big companies? And I just kind of felt like my jive with Tom Ferry's organization was pretty good. And so I was like, what the heck, why not? And so I didn't think that they would want me, like, legitimately. I was like, they're not going to want me. Like, it would be fun, but not really. And when they selected me to go through the boot camp, because the coaches have to go through this intense 4-month boot camp of training and things like that, I was like, oh man, this is really hard. And at the end, a bunch of people didn't make it. And so again, I thought, well, if I make it, awesome. If I don't, they probably don't want me, right? Like I've got all this baggage and, all this stuff. And so then I became a coach, and I really started to love even more the opportunity to work one-on-one with people all over, the country. In North America, I have clients in Canada as well, transforming their business and helping them reach their full potential. So it's kind of that whole evolution of seeing a need in our industry, having a passion for education and personal development, and then it's really selfish. I love doing it. That's
Well,
really what it is.
Chrissy, this is like, so you and Mindy both carry that same, it's
She
funny because
does.
we look at this business, right? And it's so easy to get caught in the numbers and the percentages and the statistics around it all. But keeping in mind that this is ultimately about people's homes and where they live and raise their families and their, and I love that you guys are so good at bringing that perspective. It's not just getting a deal done. It's not just pushing somebody across the finish line. It's what it means for them, right? What it means.
Yeah, your relationship actually starts after the closing, like legitimately. Right. So if your perspective is it's just getting to the closing table, you can just get out of real estate now, because anybody can do that. It really changes post-closing and feeding back into the community. Like that's really the big difference. And I know that Mindy has the same heart, and her team does too, in the community outreach that they do and how they work with their clients. And that's, it's a testament to truly phenomenal agents.
Absolutely.
I'm fired up listening to Kristi. Like I've got myself on mute over here because I'm just making all kinds of like yelling noises and this is like a game changer for the industry to have people in leadership positions who believe so passionately, not only about client care and how we take care of people, but about our own people and about our own lives. And one of the coolest things I think about being in Kristi's world is that she is always willing to share those things that she's working on and working through. And, I don't even know, Kristi, I think a lot of people engage with you when you do post things. And so that you have some reach and some impact. But there's also the people like me who don't always respond when I see stuff. And yet I'm learning along the way with you. You've got this great Facebook group, which I hope that you'll talk about today. You talk about when you're doing 75 hard. You talk about becoming a Tom Ferry coach. Like, just being in the world of people who are committed to constant personal growth and evolution naturally elevates your game. And whether you're a real estate client or a real estate professional, you've got to be around people like that to achieve the highest goals possible for you. And if you're not fired,
that's why I love Dawn. Dawn
right?
is a connector. If you don't know Don, you should, because he's truly a phenomenal connector. We learned that early on with him. When we had a need, he would always have great referrals. It much to your point, Mindy, you have to have really strong relationships in this, in our world, and great partners really can make the difference to catapult your business, right? Or the opposite, and you can just get stuck in a funk because that's kind of going in a circle. If you're kind of with those agents that are always complaining about the market and different things like that, you're just going to get stuck in that rut. You need to elevate your the people you hang out with.
Yeah, well, and I think that we've talked about mindset. We've covered so many different things on Market of the Moment, but having that positive mindset is and the this is our situation. Regardless, there's only so many things that we can control, but what we can control is the decisions we make in our situation, right? And so when we choose the positive attitude and how to help people and how to support people, then and whether that's our clients, the buyers and sellers we're working with, or whether that's our teammates and what that looks like, or our other partners, it's so important that we are tuned into that on how to make sure there's the best opportunities for everybody involved. And love this attitude. Love this panel today. Just be on that as well. So Kristi, so when you started in real estate, I'm guessing that you didn't just wake up one morning and know all the things, right? So that it, there was a process for you to get to know. And if I'm correct, Merrill was in real estate first, right? So Merrill
Yes.
yeah. So and Merrill was on a team and then left that team to start the Big Helper Group, and then that's when you joined him to create this. Making sure I've got all my
Yes.
facts right here.
Yep.
Okay, good.
You do. That's good.
Okay, so then so how did you develop? How did you learn? Obviously, having a servant's heart is very much what you do, and that plays a big role in what you do. But how did you learn the real estate skills?
It's funny because when you emailed me over, because I said, is there anything I should prepare? And you asked the question, how have you been coached in your journey? And I remembered that I have always had a coach, like legitimately. So I think back to when I was in high school, my parents moved, and I found myself in a situation where I was a teenager, underage, on my own, and I was in high school. I had to get an apartment by myself, and I lived by myself, and it was a very stressful time. I was just trying to graduate high school. I was working over 40 hours a week, and I was in school, right? 17 years old. And this was the 90s. So I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have the internet. Like, it was a very different world. But I remembered back that one of my teachers was one of my very first coaches, and he would meet with me every morning, and he would ask me things like, what are you eating? Right? Like, how are you feeding yourself? His name is Mr. Saxton, and I adore that man. Like, he holds such a special place in my heart because he took the time every single week. And then I almost didn't graduate high school because it was such a stressful time, and my parents were in a different state. And, I kind of got to a point where I just wanted to give up. I was sick. I had developed Bell's palsy on one of the side of my face, and I still had to work. Otherwise, I was going to be homeless, right? And he took me into the principal's office. He told the principal what was going on. The principal then called the remediation, because I think I was a couple credits short, and they all worked together. And I just had to show up and do the schoolwork, but they put me in the path. And I remember graduating and thinking, I would have never graduated high school. And that's just so mind-blowing to think of where I'm at today and everything I've accomplished in my life, and that I'm super proud of. I wouldn't have graduated high school had someone not taken interest in me and just helped me evaluate the decisions that I was making and kind of, encourage me. And the same thing happened after, in college and different things like that. I had a friend. That's how I got into the publishing world. I had no idea. I didn't grow up saying I'm going to sell textbooks, right? I had a friend. She was like, you know what? You're pretty good at talking to people. Would you like to do this? And I've always been a yes person. Like, that's something you should know about me is Don knows I can pretty much say yes to anything. I'm like, let me check my schedule. But I am a yes person, and being a yes person allows me to have opportunities. So that's how I got into publishing world, and publishing world gave me incredible training and mentorship that then transformed me into leaving publishing and coming into real estate. And the moment I got into real estate, I knew I needed a mentor, and there was Angela Fazio. And she says, hey, I like your energy. I like your tenacity. And, can I coach you? And I was just, I couldn't believe it. She didn't even charge me. Seriously, being coached by Angela Fazio, and she didn't even charge me. And she coached us for a year. And circumstances changed, her schedule changed. We kind of grew, and we knew that we needed to evaluate a different coach. And that's kind of when we transitioned into Tom Ferry coaching clients. But man, I didn't do it alone, Don. I would, of course, go to classes and things like that, but I found people who were doing what I wanted to do. And if they were speaking at an event, I would go to that event and I would take copious notes, and then I would ask them questions. So I've never done it alone. I've always had, great mentors and people that, even if it was mentor by proxy, you know what I mean? I don't personally know Tony Robbins. Would I consider him a mentor? Absolutely. I've listened to so much of his stuff and consumed so much of his content that I feel like I know him. And that goes the same for, the amazing people that I've met in our industry, even here in the Phoenix metro area.
So living in curiosity has been very much a part of what has helped you to be successful and to build, I love the fact you talk about coaching from the perspective of you've always had a coach, just they weren't always identified as a coach, right? The teachers weren't identified as a coach, but you've always had a coach of some sort. I think that's really important for us to take note of, that that is, we all have these people in our lives. They don't have to be formally a coach, but still people who mentor us, lead us, help us through these. And Kristi, I have to say, I was surprised that you didn't have a goal to become a textbook salesperson. I grew up wearing a little suit when I was a kid and wanting to be a sales exec for a title company like my whole life. So
I could see that.
That's for me, Don. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on. I'm not sure anybody actually grows up saying I'm going to be a title because I don't think they really they are.
Or a salesperson, right? Like I never identified myself as a salesperson, yet I always found myself in a selling position, which is very interesting because I know that you guys can all speak to this. The best loan officers, the best title reps, the best real estate agents, they all have something in common, and that is that they will absolutely give back and share all their secrets, right? I'm a complete open book. If someone comes to me and knocks on my door, if I have the time, I'll share anything with them, right? And that's, it's interesting.
And I think it's also the ability to communicate and to be able to have a good read on people's needs, right? And I think that is a skill that some people are born with, where you're extra intuitive, you're very aware of your surroundings, and some of that can develop by way of an upbringing, right? That you either needed to be or had to be or saw some benefit in being. Some people are just naturally, I've said this before, like my son, he'll watch something and he's only 2. And even since he was about 1, someone would make the slightest eye shift or some type of physical body change, and he would look at me. And I'm like, you saw that? You got that? Right? And I feel like that's a thing, that's a skill. And I think even people that don't know that they're going to go into sales like you, what people were able to identify was that you could communicate and you were aware of what people were thinking or feeling, and then how to speak to that. And I think that is an amazing intuitive skill that you have. And I have felt that from you from the moment that I've crossed paths with you. The genuineness, the ability to communicate, the understanding that we all live in a connected world.
We're soul sisters.
Soul sister. I will take that title from you all day long. I also am obsessed with this idea of being a yes person. That you articulated that in such a great way. Like, you've got to show up. You've got to be open to new ideas. You may not know where those connections will take you or lead you, but to say yes, that's how you get the opportunity to experience things. I love the way that you said that. I think that's awesome.
You know what I really love too is that you really have opened up so many minds for everybody to think about the fact that we're surrounded. Even if you paid a coach, you probably have another 25 coaches in your world that you're not even thinking about. And I love that because, and even if you're not paying for a coach, just thinking about all the people in your sphere and that you interact with daily that are willing to sit down and talk to you and really, go back and forth and say, what if you did this or this? Those truly are people that are investing in you. And I love that.
What you and Dawn are doing, and I'm sure Bernie, absolutely, for someone that just comes in the industry, right? And for them to have a consultation with someone like you, that could fast track their business by months, if not years, assuming that they take action. And I know we're going to talk about being coachable and things like that, but yeah, exactly. You hit it so perfectly. There are people all around you. If you're coachable and have an open mind and are curious enough to ask, you could really shortcut the school of hard knocks.
I think it comes down to ego. If you don't let your ego get in the way and you're willing to take someone's suggestion or advice and go, actually, that's a really great idea. I really never thought of it that way, and take and run it with it, then, that's
sure.
Huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I wanted to note is, we referred to salespeople multiple times, and actually the real estate license is a real estate salesperson, correct? That's what, and, you know, you're not, I guess when people think of as a salesperson, I don't think anybody on this screen is that, right? Because we come from a place of consultative selling, and this is helping lead people to what's the best decision for them and their family and their situation, whether it be Bernie with helping somebody through a loan, or helping a realtor decide that working with Define is the best choice for them. That is, he doesn't do that by like, well, you're going to get a set of steak knives with this. It is more. It is about the win for everybody involved. And when Mindy and Kristi, you guys are working with your team, or you're working with individual sellers or buyers, those same conversations about how to win and accomplish what you want, right, should be the guide, right? So when we look at salespeople, we should be looking at the guide to getting you to your goals. And so and we're all selling as well. Bernie runs a team. Sharon runs our team. Kristi, Mindy, you guys are running a team. I run by myself, but
that's true. You help mentor a lot of people.
Yeah, thank you. And but I believe that really, if I come in and I talk to Kristi about doing something that she doesn't want, some part of her business that doesn't help, then first, I'm doing her a disservice and taking her a wrong direction, and that doesn't really help her build. But consulting with what she does want and how to, I see, and making those connections is the best possible way. So.
I'm going to try to get this out, Don. I've never met Kristi, but I love everything you said. And I agree with what Mindy and everyone has said. And again, excuse my voice, but I think that, it's evident you love learning and you seek to learn, and you also love to pass that on and become a mentor. So you've recognized the mentorships you've gained over the years and the coaches. And there's a lot to that cycle of giving back, mentoring others and then seeing them succeed, and then they become mentors to others. It's really a great thing to see, and it's probably the most rewarding part of leading a group, a team, is really creating other leaders and mentors, right, within your organization or your group or your team. So I love what you said, and I can tell, your energy is great, and I can see why people gravitate towards your mentorship, and can't wait to get to know you better.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. I was super, when Don reached out, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do this. So we just got to find a time to make it happen.
He's like, well, there's one time slot. It's 10 o'clock every Thursday.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though. Kristi and I have been in for 6 weeks trying to coordinate this date and this time. And but
I appreciate your patience.
Oh, no, we love that you're here, Kristi, and it's amazing. So, I do want to talk a little bit about the people that you coach and what life looks like for them, and how they should approach being coached, and how that can translate to people who are watching this as well.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad that you asked that question, because I took some time to think about it. And, because not every coaching relationship is successful. And I always look at myself, and I will say that as myself, as a person that's either a mentee or being coached, there are some attributes that can really advance your coaching relationship or this mentor-mentee relationship. And so in regards to finding a coach, I definitely recommend that you interview a couple different people you're looking for, or even a mentor. And definitely if it's free or be willing to pay. I've had both free mentors and coaches and paid mentors and coaches, and you get out what you put into it. I think that's one of the big things you need to realize, is that you will absolutely reap what you put into it. But be looking for things like their style, their energy, the temperament. Do you want them to be in production? Do you not want them to be in production? Are you specifically looking for a mentor that is, dominant in geographic farms, and maybe that's like a termed mentorship, right? Where they're going to teach you everything about something specific. Are you looking for a general coach or a life coach? I mean, I think I have 3 different coaches right now, a health coach. I've got a productivity coach, and I've got my coach's coach, like a mentor coach that's coaching me to become a better coach, and I have my business coach, right? Like, I firmly believe in it. So how can you make the most of the relationship? 1, be prepared for the time that you have with, right? So let's put it this way. If I ever have the opportunity to have a session with Tony Robbins or Darren Hardy or, Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever, right? Like someone that I look up to. Do you think that I'm just going to like show up and not have prepared anything? No. Oh my gosh. I'm probably going to spend several hours preparing for that 30-minute session with them. Right? I'm going to make sure I know all my numbers. I'm going to make like anything that I can do. So if they say, well, what's this? I can say, oh, that, like I'm going to make sure that I have all of my business data and acumen like really solid right there. But I'm also going to know which questions I want to ask in advance. What are my priorities? I am not going to take the call in my car while I'm driving, right? I'm not going to take it while I'm at an open house. I'm not going to be in a Starbucks. I mean, if I'm in a Starbucks, I'm at least seated, my computer's open. I've got my notepad out. Be prepared for those meetings. I can't stress that enough. When I pay for coaching, I take time to prepare for my coaching call. And that means that I send my coach in advance questions that I want answered, right? People who don't get a lot out of coaching, they just show up and like, okay, fix me. Done. Tell me the magic pill. Like, what do I need to do? Right? Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Right? If you want me to show up as the best coach possible, tell me what you are struggling with, right? I'm going to kind of get some things out of you, but be prepared. And then I would also say be focused. Oh my gosh, right? Like, again, if you get somebody like Mindy to take time out of her schedule to sit with you and you just want to ask her a couple questions, be there 100%. Don't be checking your phone. Don't be distracted. You come prepared. You show up early, so that way if she's running late or she's running early, you can adjust to her time. You send her your questions in advance, and then you give her your full attention, right? Like just out of respect, but also because you need to consume as much of the information that she's sharing with you during that time. And then you need to get into action, right? So I think Sharon talked about checking your ego, right? Sometimes coaches tell us things we don't want to hear, and we need to be open-minded enough to at least listen. Or, I once heard it that the world can be divided into a third. So the greatest example I can give is one that I went to a seminar with Tom Ferry. Gary Vaynerchuk was there, and someone asked the question, what stock should I buy? So this is like 2019, okay? And he like just goes, Netflix, right? So of course, a third of the room is like, oh no, Netflix is, my stock advisor says no. They're just an automatic no, right? Automatic no. A third of the group is so excited and they like write it down and then they highlight it and they're like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to invest in Netflix, right? And then they did nothing. And then a third of the group got on the phone with their broker or did whatever they needed to do and they invested in Netflix. And they are reaping the rewards, right? That's with everything. If you hear a panel, right? Like you go to a panel, you go to a class, right? Which part of the third are you? Are you the third that automatically says no and does nothing? Are you the third that's like super excited and all jazzed and does nothing? Or do you take what you need and you get into action? Like that, there's so many people that just don't. I think Darren Hardy puts it best. He says, education without action or implementation means nothing.
Right.
You have to get into action. So those are kind of my big things is you got to be prepared. You got to be, there.
Kristi, I love it. And it's and it's so funny because we all, here you are, you talk about, you got 3 people coaching you, that are official coaches, right? Let alone all the other people in your life that mentor and guide as well. And so, that means there's 3 people that you need to prepare for your interactions with on that, let alone all of the people that you coach and all the preparation around that. So we started this off talking about how you were a little busy and how you had a few things going on in your life. And so how do you make sure that that you have your coach on Tuesday at 9? How do you make sure that you have that that you're prepared?
That's a great question. So, and that's actually that's probably, if I had to pick like my top 5 questions that I get asked all the time, whether they're agents that have been in the business 20 years or agents that have been in the business 2 minutes, is, how do I organize my time? And you have to have a schedule. So my schedule for the most part is about 2 weeks booked out. At this point in my life, it's about 2 weeks booked out, and it is on my schedule. So before I say yes to Dawn, I immediately go into my schedule. I see, so like to be here today, I needed to move 2 appointments, and I knew that, and that's why it took time for me to get in here, because I needed to move those clients into a different slot. And I don't do anything without looking at my calendar, and I bookend my days. So when I end my day, I'm looking at my goals for the day. What did I want to accomplish? Did I accomplish those things? I don't just make to-do lists. I take my lists and put them into my calendar, into time slots. So if I need to prep for this meeting, that would be a 10-minute, 15-minute slot, not just something to put in a procrastination list. It's going to go into my calendar. And so I'm very realistic with my time, and I'll know when I have to make sacrifices. Like, I'm teaching a class tomorrow on Google My Business, which is it's huge for agents in the industry right now. This could truly separate you from the pack if you take it serious. And I know that tonight I'm probably going to spend a couple hours tonight. I'm going to make that choice to finalize my slides and things like that. It's in my calendar. I know that, right? I make choices. That means I'm not going to watch Friends, right? I'm not going to, do something else. I'm going to sacrifice something else that I want to do because I need to finalize prepping for that. So I have a calendar, and I'm very intentional with taking things that I want to do and putting them into my schedule so they don't just become procrastination lists.
Excellent. So I don't know if you saw in our comments here, Sharon was asking which of those 3 groups you belong to. And so I'm guessing I already know, but I'm guessing it's the one that goes out and gets things done.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of ideas that I like. So here's my rule of thumb, because I will fall into the super jazzed and excited, doesn't implement. So whenever I go to a training or I listen to a webinar, something like that, I write down my action items, and sometimes I get overly excited, right? Like when I read a book, this will be a good tip. When I read a book, in the back of the book, I write down books to read. So if they mention another book, I'll write down books to read, YouTube to watch, webinars, like anything that they reference in something that I need to extend, I'll go out. So when I come back at the end of this, that's a lot of books right there. Right. I then have to prioritize, right? And so then I pare down, and I have a like a doing and done board for different things that I want to do. And so my brain dump list is huge. Okay. Like it's huge because I'm an excited person and I want to try everything. So my brain dump list is really big. But then when I move something from my brain dump over here, that means that we're teeing it up to go into the schedule this week. And if I want, and this does happen because I'm definitely not perfect, I'll tee something up because I'm so excited and I'm going to make time. But then, my daughter gets an ear infection. I got to go to the ENT or, whatever it is. And it falls through and it falls through. So if I can't prioritize something 2 weeks in a row, it goes back to the brain dump. That means I wasn't ready for it and I can't implement. And I'm not going to keep beating myself up because I can't do it. It just wasn't the priority that I thought it was. And sometimes I'll go back into my brain dump and I'll say, you know what? Yeah, that's not me right now. And I'll put it in a not now pile. And I'm okay with that right now. Like there are things that I know that I don't have time in my life for that I really want to do, but I have to make choices. And I think that's one of the common pitfalls for people in our industry is they are not realistic with their time. meaning that they've got a really long to-do list. And if they actually went through and put everything into their calendar, it would never fit. They couldn't get it all in. So I'm absolutely, they call me the executioner on the team because I do execute. I'm like, ideas are nothing without execution. You just implement, execute. But if I get stuck, I kick it back out because I just know that I either don't have capacity or it wasn't the priority I thought it was.
I am so stealing the term brain depth list. That is awesome. That is great. All right. Well, I tell you what, Kristi, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us today, and all the energy you've brought this morning, and man, everybody.
It's easy with you guys.
We all get to spend. We should get like a recurring breakfast on the calendar where we all get together for breakfast because you guys are way too fun. So, and so much I can learn from everybody here as well. So
I will say, I'll say real quick because Mindy mentioned my Facebook group. So I started a Facebook group called The Resilient Realtor because I am really passionate about some of these things, and I know that coaching, there can be a barrier to coaching financially, whether you're just scared about it or you're unsure, you don't believe in it, right? And there are some needs in our industry. So pretty much every Friday, I'm teaching a class in there and I'm streaming it to the group and to YouTube. And like I said, tomorrow is Google My Business. This is a class you don't want to miss because I promise you that the agents that are actually implementing their Google My Business, we're seeing a separation right now. This is like when some people jumped on Zillow and they're like, yeah, Zillow's the devil and I'm never going to do it. And then all of a sudden, the agent that wasn't performing all of a sudden kind of jumped up. They probably weren't as profitable. We know that. That's another story. But every single Friday in that group, and there's no expectation. Okay. Like I want to make that clear. There's no expectation. My goal is to provide learning opportunities, regardless of where you are. If you have questions and you just want camaraderie and things like that, that's kind of my big goal, is to just provide an opportunity for agents to have training. I usually flip-flop. Some of it's behind the scenes, like getting your CRM in order and things like that. So each week alternates between prospecting, doing the work, and back end getting your systems to work for you. So that's all I'll say about that. I appreciate you putting up there. I just want to give back to the community.
I love it.
There's also another component to that Facebook page, though, which is like daily, I don't know, you call it motivation, asking good questions. Like you post things that ensure that people are thinking about their life and their world and their business in a bigger way. And so even like I said, if you don't comment or you don't post, like that's the kind of stuff that you need to have in your feed. And so I just
think why that came back?
Benefits.
So Mindy, this is why this happened. Okay. I was working with somebody and I asked them a question about their business and they said, I don't know. I have to think. And I was like, I want you thinking about your business. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I forget exactly what it was. And so I just said, I made a commitment. I was like, you know what, I'm going to post a question on here every single day. And I actually scheduled that in advance. So that's my secret. Everything is scheduled a month in advance, all of those posts. But those questions are because I want you thinking about your business. Please do not float in your business because you will sink and your business will not thrive. You have to be thinking about those things. So that's how that came to be.
I think it's awesome. It's super cool.
Okay. And I forgot, probably should have mentioned earlier, Mindy, that people need to make sure that they stay tuned to the end today because Mindy and I have something very special coming up that we're going to be announcing at the end of the broadcast today. So make sure you even if you're watching this in replay and you're in a hurry, fast forward so you can catch this because we've got something really big coming up. So, okay. I am so excited that Bernie's here back with us with Define Mortgage. And he is here today to provide us the update of what is happening in the world of money. So, Bernie, I know this is your second time with us, but we do look for lowered interest rates each time you come on. I don't know if we didn't give you an opportunity to prepare for that, but if you have any tricks in the bag to lower interest rates, we're always happy about that. Not that they're not low already, but we just like free money. So what you got going on, my friend?
No pressure, right? Well, last time I was on, it was about a month ago, and I did pull through because the rate did go down after, the last announcement from the Feds. But a couple of key takeaways, I guess, so far from the Fed meetings and discussions, and this is all related still to their intention to pull back and taper the monthly bond purchase. They've been telegraphing this move now for so long, and there's been now talks about it happening before the end of the year, maybe as soon as September. But since they've been telegraphing this move for now what seems to be months, this is already something that the market has adjusted to. So what I mean by that is when they do make that announcement and they say, we are going to taper down our purchase of mortgage-backed securities and we will start on X date, could we see an increase in the rates and the yields? We could see an increase, but is it going to be significant and super disruptive to the market? I don't think so, because again, the market has already anticipated this for so long that it'll probably be mild, in my opinion. So I am in the camp of we're going to continue to see these lower interest rates in the threes, in the low threes through the end of the year, perhaps. And that is, there's two camps here, and I'm on the more positive side. And so far, it's been working out. The reality is that there's a lot of other variables. And when you go further down to like next year, that starts getting really fussy, because now you have issues with inflation, things like the Delta variant, and this transitory inflation that they talk about. How long is transitory? Transitory inflation, could it expand into next year? So there's still a lot of questions. Could we see interest rates go up next year into the mid threes, maybe into the fours? It's certainly a possibility. And when we talk about rates going up a full percent, what really is going to happen is the refi market will take a hit. That's going to take the majority of the hit to the productivity of lenders. It's going to be the refi market. On the purchase side, you guys know as well as I do that that's really not going to slow down the purchase activity too much, because there's still a lot of demand, not enough inventory. So a percent increase in rate is not necessarily going to slow that down. In fact, if we get some good news from Mindy that inventory continues to improve, I can see purchases actually increasing and productivity increasing despite rates going up. So that's kind of the rate environment and what we could expect, not only before the end of the year, but hopefully into next year. I don't have the crystal ball. We could be completely off and have rates hike before the end of the year. But again, keep your fingers crossed that we continue to see that rate environment as it stands today, despite of them, the Fed's actually making that announcement of tapering back the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities. I have another announcement, though, that I want to talk about. This is in regards to a Fannie Mae release that just happened last week, and it talks about changes to their desktop underwriting system, which is what they use to automatically underwrite files. This is effective September 18th. And there's a couple of really exciting things in this announcement that I think could really help home buyers qualify that otherwise wouldn't be able to. And I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this, so let me know if you have. But the one that stands out a lot is the ability for Fannie's underwriting system to take into account rent history as part of that qualification of the loan. And imagine how many people are paying thousands of dollars in rent, and that rent history is not really ever making it into the underwriting decision. That's about to change. The system is going to be able to recognize through a verification of asset, basically looking at bank statements showing your rent history or your rent payments coming out, be able to recognize that payment history. And if it's a positive payment history, it will make an impact to your qualifications for the mortgage. That is something that's pretty exciting. It's gonna be one of those that's probably harder to implement than it sounds. And we have a meeting with our Fannie Mae rep in a couple of weeks to actually get more information on how do we actually implement all of this. But nonetheless, it's a very exciting change in our industry. The second one that's announced too is a change to credit score and credit, what they're calling average credit score for decisioning. So we have two borrowers, borrower one and borrower two. Borrower one has a middle credit score that does not meet the guidelines, so it's just below the guidelines. Borrower two has a credit score that's well above the guidelines. In years past and currently, you might have an issue. You might have to wait until the borrower one has to improve their credit, because you always take the lower of the two middle scores. Or you might have to remove the one borrower and just try and qualify with borrower number two. It could be a husband and wife. It could be two people applying together. Either way, you take the lower of the two scores to qualify. Fannie Mae is making a change to where they will average the two credit scores. So now when you have a credit score that, for example, maybe one's 619, just below a 620 threshold, and the other one's 693 as an example, they'll average the two, which is 656, that meets the 620 threshold, and now you have a pre-qualification. I think that's also very exciting, and time will tell how many more people will be able to qualify under these new guidelines. Again, they go into effect September 18th. Please call me or any of your partners on the mortgage side if you have any questions, comments, and love to give you more information.
Excellent. That's great, Bernie, and that's because I think what we see so often is there's two people trying to buy the home together, and they have to use one person's income because the other person, they have some damage on their credit that is hurting them from being able to buy. So that's some great news, because that actually, when you were mentioning earlier about the potential of rates going up, I had a question that this might actually help to solve as well. But when you look at the pre-approvals, and I don't know if this is something you know off the top of your head, but do you know about what percentage of people are maxing out their approvals when they come in and get pre-approved with you?
I mean, it's only getting higher, right? As home prices have increased,
Right.
that actually that maximum debt to income is getting closer and closer to that. I would say there's still a good enough amount of room when you have a dual income type of scenario. But it's in that scenario that I just talked about where it really kills you, because you have potentially two borrowers earning the income trying to buy a home that meets their joint needs, but one of them has the lower credit score, and you take that person out, it really could kill the entire deal, right? You have to wait until I can't answer it at the top of my head what percentage. I think there's still a good amount of room there, but because there's also it's been a lot more time for people to save and work on credit. There's more information out there, so we're seeing an increase in credit scores and qualifications. But nonetheless, you still have couples that maybe for whatever reason don't have the same type of credit, and now this blended or average credit score will help them. I will point one thing out, so that will help them qualify. But credit score also comes into play for other factors of a mortgage, like if there's private mortgage insurance, for example, it's based on your credit score, the pricing of it. That's still going to be based on the lower of the two credit scores. So they will not use that average score. That average score will only be used for the Fannie Mae underwriting system. Now, Fannie Mae is probably the largest GSE, right, and the largest investor. I imagine others will follow this suit in making this change, and hopefully we'll see that.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate you being here today. We appreciate the update, and just know that we'd like, next time you're on, if you bring the interest rates down to like low twos, we can really see what we get happening then. We get something cracking. So thank you, Bernie. We appreciate you.
Of course. Anytime.
Okay, so Mindy, you may have given us a little precursor to a not increasing inventory. So what do we have going on?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. We've kind of been talking about the trajectory of the inventory in the market at this like super microscope kind of level, right? And so at the beginning of the year, our inventory was really plummeting at an extremely fast rate. Meanwhile, our interest rates were so incredibly low, our demand was doing so well, and we just kept eating up every single house that came to the market to the point where at one point we had less than 3,000 listings available in the 17 major metropolitan cities for a population of over 5.5 million people. And so we really got to this place where I think people got a little bit scared of where they were going to go if they put their home on the market as a seller. And buyers were like, oh man, 30% appreciation annually sounds awesome and also completely terrifying to get in the middle of. And so I'm just going to kind of pull back. So over the last probably 3 months, we've started to see a slight reversal of that trend where some of the buyers kind of pulled back and said, you know what, I'm going to kind of wait until things chill out a little bit. Meanwhile, sellers said, oh, well, you know, the neighbors down the street did the work for us. We've got the comps already. We're no longer looking like we need to sell for $100,000 more than anyone around us has sold for. And so they started to come back into the market. And so we started to see this reversal of trends and where our inventory was starting to finally creep up kind of a little bit. And so we've really been watching that each week. Is it going up? Is it going up a little more? How about a little more? How about a little more? And we've made quite a bit of progress. We've got about double the inventory that we had when we hit our lowest point earlier this year in the springtime. And so we definitely have increased our inventory. We still don't have as much as we had this time last year. And we also definitely don't have what we had this time 2 years ago. So I think we're starting to look at things in a little bit of a longer term perspective. We're getting very close to where inventory turned last year. And actually, if we look at the comparison between supply and demand, we have almost exactly the same kind of market that we had 1 year ago today. And if people remember at that time, it was a very healthy market from the perspective of prices were increasing at a nice pace. Buyers still had options of things to choose from. Now we were showing property masked and in gloves and with booties on, so the environment was a little bit different. But as far as how quickly things were moving, we are almost in an identical market today. When that happens, I think we have to kind of shift our conversation and move from the market that we've been talking about and move into talking about the market that we are in and we are headed into. You've heard people say that we are likely going to be in a balanced market towards the end of the year or maybe in the first quarter of the year. I think when we're talking to consumers, we have to be very careful with using terms like that because that does not mean that prices will go down. And that also does not even mean that prices may stabilize, meaning they could still be increasing in a market that is just at balance. So if we look at like the numbers a year ago, we had about 8,000 listings on the market. At the same time, we were averaging in August about 8,000 pending listings. So sounds like a balanced market, right? But we still had only about 3 weeks of inventory and we did not have one house for every person and prices were still going up. So I think it's very important that we start to kind of settle in to what this new inventory market looks like. Meanwhile, summer is over. I know it's still 109 yesterday afternoon. So let's just, generally speaking, summer is over. And kids are back in school. And obviously, Bernie mentioned a little bit with the Delta variant, there's certainly still some unknowns. But this market is not an unknown market. We are not where we were 6 months ago or a year ago, where we were headed into something we haven't experienced before. This level of supply and demand we experienced a year ago. This is not uncertain. How things may play out or how long it may take, those are uncertainties, but we are no longer in a market we've never experienced before. So this is a great time for buyers and sellers to engage. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen that trend reverse the other direction and inventory has started to decline. That is because we've got buyers that are hearing the news that there's a little bit more opportunity for them. They are re-engaging. We are starting to see cities like Scottsdale, Mesa, Avondale all have less listings today than they did last week, and then they did just 2 weeks ago. And so that's the luxury market, which has done well throughout this time, and also some of the lower average price point cities, where as soon as they've got a little market inventory on the market and buyers know they've got some opportunity, they're right back in the game. So that is what we're watching. We're also backing up a little bit and expanding our view. So we're not looking week over week, one piece of inventory added. We're looking at where did we sit a year ago? Where did we sit 2 years ago? And this is a very familiar market from that perspective.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that that we're definitely seeing that some of those folks are coming back, and I think that's still good, right? This is helping people get into homes is important and very much what we do. So, okay.
Sorry, guys, I do have to go.
Oh, okay, Kristi. Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on. I
Make
just
the
really
announcement.
Okay. Yes. We are so excited that with Mindy and Fairway Mortgage and Fidelity National Title, we are putting together a Women in Leadership event on September 10th from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Parlay Kitchen over in Chandler. It's over by Intel, if you're not familiar. I was very hopeful that we were going to have our flyer up and going on this by this morning. We are going to have 6 amazing speakers that are going to talk about their journey in real estate and how they've accomplished what they've accomplished, and some of those trials and tribulations through it all. So because I don't actually have the flyer up, you're stuck with I'm going to reach out to me, or better, Mindy, because everybody loves Mindy. Reach out to one of the two of us, and we will get you the information over for getting registered. It is going to be a very fun morning of learning and growing together. And we're all so excited for it. So, Mindy, anything you want to add on there? Did I miss anything?
No, I really hope that we get an awesome turnout, because this is a platform that we haven't seen for quite a while, where we've got several women in leadership positions in the real estate industry who really can give a unique perspective around living their biggest and best lives personally, professionally, spiritually, in regards to their health. We know that all of these things are intertwined, and it's not about balance. It's about feeling fulfilled in all of your buckets. And so we've got some amazing questions that Sharon and I are going to ask these women in leadership about how they're doing it. What are their tips? And you are going to leave inspired and also, like Kristi said, ready to jump into action. So please, please, please hold the date, September 10th, 9 to 11, Parlay Kitchen and Cocktails. It's going to be amazing. Please reach out to us. We'll reserve a spot for you. I know the flyer will be coming soon, but definitely get it on your schedule. Don't wait to do that.
Yeah,
Guys,
starting
this is
tomorrow.
Such a unique experience to hear these women talk, and I absolutely encourage everyone, man or women, come hear it, because it's going to be a really phenomenal session. So looking forward to it.
Tomorrow we're going to start rolling out the speakers and announcing who the speakers are. So keep an eye out for that as well. But we're going to kind of spend a little time having some fun with rolling out these amazing speakers. So thank you all. Thank you for we're a little bit over today. So thanks for spending your time with us, and we appreciate you. Look forward to see you next week. But next week we're going to start our conversations on social media. So thank you. Talk to everybody soon.
Everyone, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.